Hey everyone, this is Mastermind278 here with the Amcrest 8 megapixel POE outdoor security turret camera. This camera includes a 4K Ultra HD resolution as well as a 2.8 millimeter ultra wide angle lens. So let's see a little bit about the specs of this camera here. So we can kind of take a look here, and we have an image sensor that's an 8 megapixel Starvis sensor. That's a Sony sensor. It has a resolution of 4K Ultra HD, night vision that's good up to 164 feet, and it has wide dynamic range. It has a 2.8 millimeter lens, and it's IP67 construction, meaning it is weatherproof and it can be in the rain. It performs H.265 compression, which is great because it can give us smaller file sizes and keep the same video quality. It has a built-in mic, which allows for that one-way audio communication, so we can hear what's going on. Works over PoE at 100 megabits. Has a couple of different options for storage, including microSD, as well as local PC, which would be like a system like Blue Iris, or it can save directly to like a NAS system, or we can use the Amcrest cloud with it. So there's a little bit about the camera there. So what comes included is we get the camera here that has this RJ45 plug, as well as a possible power plug here if you want to use 12 volt rather than PoE. Comes with a security screwdriver. You get this mounting sticker, so we can put the sticker wherever we're mounting the camera to have the screw holes that we need to get the camera mounted up properly. You get a quick start guide that kind of walks us through some of the quick setup options. You get a warranty card here that states we have unlimited lifetime technical support, and the camera does include 1 year of support as well. We also get this little notice here asking us about security information and telling us to please go to the Amcrest site to update the firmware on the camera. And one big important note I see on here is never use the default password for your device. Always ensure your password contains a combination of lowercase and uppercase characters and numbers. I love that they're saying that. That's great. A lot of these cameras have been found on the internet where people just use the default credentials to be able to log into them. The nice thing about this Amcrest, as soon as you log in for the first time using the default credentials, it does prompt you to change that default password. So ideally at that point we are clearing up that issue there. You also get some screws and anchors to mount the camera. So we have 4 screws and 4 anchors, as well as some connectors here for the waterproofing for the RJ45. So the next step we want to do is actually just remove the camera from the base here, so we can actually get to the microSD card slot. So we're going to use that security tool that comes with it, and we're able to just go in here and unscrew this. Go. So once that unscrews, you're able to pull this top part out, and we can pull the camera from the base there. So now we just have the camera here, and then there are 3 screws on the back there that we have to remove. This uses a slightly larger Phillips head screwdriver, so I'm actually going to use one of my Ring security camera screwdrivers, and we're just going to go in here and unscrew it. 1, 2. Let's get that third one. Don't think I got it all the way. There we go. 3. So now and there we go. So now we have those 3 screws out. 1, 2, and 3. So now we actually can see the internals of the camera a little bit here. And we have some silica in here to kind of keep this all clean. We have this rubber all around the camera here to help keep that waterproofing. And you can see here that there's some of the electronics that are working and some of the wires for it. We have these 2 screws right here, 1 and 2, that need to be removed so we can get to that microSD card. This does require a slightly different screwdriver, so it's a smaller screwdriver, so we're just going to get to it and unscrew those 2. Let's grab these 2 screws. One and 2. Sorry about that. There you go. So now we got the 2 screws out. Alright, now that those 2 screws are out from there, we can go to the next step, and it's actually pulling this all out of the assembly there. So when we pull this out, we're actually seeing the camera settings here. Which had a little rubber piece that goes around the lens in here actually just come out, so I'm just going to put that back in there. You can actually see the camera lens there, and right there is where our microSD card goes, and we just got to kind of lift it up to open up this slot, and then it opens up. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer for you guys so we can kind of get a better view. So now that we're here, we kind of see these little indentations here. They match the camera, the microSD things. So kind of put it in there, and we go with the little indentations. You don't see any of that gold contact there. Then you kind of just lift that little thing up and you slide it up. So now we have the microSD card mounted into the camera there. And then we kind of just go back in reverse and we bring that back there. We're going to get the 2 little black screws back on. Let's see if I can get us a little bit of a better view here. So we're going to go right there. Get this back in there. And we're going to do the other one here on the bottom. Right there. So now we're going to get that back in there. And like so. Perfect. You can see some of these connections have a little bit of like silicone on it. I think it's to help with some of that waterproofing, it looks like. And now we kind of just bring back our top cover. We just have to align the screws here. So, yep, just like that. Kind of make sure that we get them to fit in there. So perfect. And now we use the bigger screws, the white ones, to go in there. And we just screw the 3 back in. 1, 2, and 3. I like to go back and kind of just make sure that all of the screws are nice and tight. That one is, and that one's a little bit more tight. There you go. So now we have the microSD card installed on the camera, so that will be an option that we'll have. And now we just gotta put it back on this mount here. Normally you don't have to do this part unless you're ready to mount it, but I'll show you guys. So I like to kind of just snake it in like you normally would, and then just make sure that we put the wire through that little connector there, so that way we don't have any issues. Actually have the camera upside down here, like that, get the wire in that way, and now we can kind of put that little shell over it, and make sure we go from the bottom up. Just trim it there, make sure it's connected on the back there, and we're in the front now. And we kind of just screw this back in. Go. Now we have the camera ready to be remounted with the microSD card in it. So our next step is actually to go to Amcrest's website and get the latest firmware for the camera. So we can go to amcrest.com/firmware downloads, and then once we're there, we can actually choose our model. So we just hit the little drop down there. We'll type in our model, IP8M, and then we can choose the T2499EW. Click there, and then we'll hit the little search button there. And once we're here, you see a picture of our 4K camera, and we have the little button there to download the firmware. So we'll actually download it. Like I said, I've already downloaded the firmware and installed it. Just want to give a heads up that after you download this version of this firmware, the one from 10/24/2019, it actually no longer will support Internet Explorer. So I'm actually using Edge Chromium at this point to get here, and there is a plugin to log in. So once we're there, we can actually go here to the camera and we'll log in. I did do a factory reset to kind of show you this. Like I said, part of the security thing is we don't want it to have that default credentials. That's bad, makes it really vulnerable, and we really have to make sure we put a nice secure password here. So we will type in a new password there, and then we'll just hit OK, and there you go. So we've set up a new password on the camera. Actually, I have my camera indoors right now. I always say it's very important for us to test the camera before we put it out, make sure that everything is working properly. As you can see, the camera is working properly. We got it connected over POE, and we can see it. There's a mainstream option here. There's also a substream option. The substream option is actually using lower resolution here, as you can see. And if we switch over here, definitely have a nice higher resolution there. We can actually hit the setup here, and we can see some settings here. We could change a couple of the profiles, and there is a profile management option here. When we hit video, we can choose which type of encoding we're using. So it's wanting to default to H.264H. We can change it over to H.265, which I personally think is a great option just because the file sizes will be smaller and the video quality stays about the same. And then we have options here for audio. Didn't click the save button, so it didn't save it. Realized it after I clicked it, so we will click save. So now we've changed that option. Then there's a network option here, and there's options for TCP, ports, DDNS. We'll let everybody decide what they want to do there. There's even an HTTPS option where you can create a certificate so it doesn't act like it's not secure when you go to the website. So events, there's a motion detection, and we can kind of set up some settings here as well as audio detection or some abnormalities. Storage, like I said, you can set up a schedule here that it just records when there's motion or an alarm, and you can have it take some snapshots as well. And then for destination, you can choose where you want it to go, SD card, FTP or NAS. And as you can see here, we have a SD card that's in the camera right now, and it's kind of being detected right here. And just some more options here. And then there's the upgrade area here. This is where you would click that browse button and then choose that firmware file. There is this manual check option you can do here, and it's telling us that we have the latest version of the firmware, which is great. And like I said, there's definitely a lot of little options here. Highly recommend making sure you plug in the camera before you take it out and plug it in. This way you make sure that everything's working, that your switch does support the proper protocols for PoE. Obviously, we're good here. And it looks like we actually switched over to a different stream while we're watching. Let's go back to the main stream. And there you go. And it's probably because it is at that higher resolution, so I expect it to use quite a bit of CPU power as well as a little bit of bandwidth there. But that is the Amcrest camera in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Have a good one.